when they had the thing where you had to work with the
right.
city. Well, I had to fall back again, but that was Mary Trouble. And
Doing this a while then.
oh, I think the only one longer is Wayne.
I had not gray hair then.
And more of it?
What do you, how long? I think I'm about 8 or 9 years on this board. Time to retire.
I've been here about 22.
But
With just not on, I was started out with the building safety as like the liaison. And then I came in as an alternate.
Ready?
Yeah.
It is on.
Got a nice.
Kingston City Hall.
City Hall, 2001. Thank you. Okay, ready? And
Do you want me to move this up? Is it?
everybody's got to talk.
Oh, for everybody. All right.
That is straddling the table.
Sit in.
Okay, ready?
All right.
Good.
Good. Here's my microphone. Don't have microphones today, except for this thing. Welcome, everybody, to the April 18th, 2022 City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. We're going to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get with introductions, bathrooms are over to my left, okay? I'm asking for folks if they need to silence their cell phones, do that at this time. Come on in. Hi there.
It's planning board, yes.
If we have an emergency, we got to exit, don't use the elevator. We're going to just go down the stairs and exit out through that way. So that's it, right? For announcements. Yeah. All right. So I am Wayne Platt. I'm the chairman. We also have Charles Palaco, vice chairman, Kevin Roach, Vince Archer, Emily Hamilton, and Sage Newkirk. We also have Suzanne Cahill, who's the planning director. Kyla D-Day is the assistant planner. Is Matt here? Yes, he is. No? I don't get to see him.
No.
Okay, that's it for introductions. Item number 1 on the agenda is the adoption of the March 18th, 2022 and April 4th, 2022 planning board meeting transcripts and decisions. Everybody's received a copy of them. Any questions, deletions, or additions on them? This time, I'll make a motion that we adopt those documents. Do I have a second? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. And tonight, Emily and Vince are in. Robert and Matt are not going to be here tonight. Okay, public hearings. Item number 2 is 231 Wall Street, 80 Pearl Street, 46-48 and 50 Green Street. Lot line deletion of the lands of St. Joseph's Church. Section block and lot is 56.91-2-23.100, 56.91-2-22, 56.91-2-27, 56.91-2-28. It's a secret determination zone O2 and R2, Ward 2. St. Joseph's Church is the applicant. Is there anybody? Mr. Sinagra, you come sit down. Anybody besides Mr. Sinagra here to speak about item number 2? Okay. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Here tonight to ask to combine three properties that we really purchased in about 1962.
Okay.
And the maps were never updated, so consequently makes it difficult for the taxing agencies here in the city and also for us, because every time we have to go in and identify this property, also pledge that we own the properties. So what we want to do is combine it with property number 23, so we have one tax bill.
So I do have the map up on the screen, but I don't know if that's large enough for you all. I think I have a paper copy also. Basically, just all part.
It's pretty straightforward, right, everybody? Any other? All right, let me get my, so I gotta get my notes. All right, so under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. You've already been advised you got to provide copies plus the Mylar copy that has to be signed, right?
Right.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. So,
Policy 6 will be on it.
yes. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 2 with board policy 6 and all of the copies and written descriptions submitted to staff. Second on that? Second by Chuck Palaco. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, easy. All right, thank you. Good seeing you again.
It took you longer to get here, Phil.
Well, I'll be back one more time.
All right, item number 3 is utility pole number 122838. Right of way at 46 Pankaki Street. Special permit to install a radio transmission antenna. How you doing? Seeker determination, zone R2, AT&T Mobility. In care of?
Yes.
Okay, in care of Centerline Communications is the applicant. Central Hudson is the owner of the pole. Anybody, we're going to introduce yourself?
Kimberly from Centerline.
So is anybody besides the applicant here to speak on item number 3?
Can you just state your last name, please?
REVAK.
Thank you.
Okay. How big is the antenna? About this big?
The antenna themselves are less than 2 feet.
Yeah, okay. Seems kind of silly we got to be here for this thing. We got to do it nonetheless.
Carol has shown you the one.
Okay. So you just want to explain
Or you
what?
can, Wayne, you can.
Okay. So what is the antenna going to be used for? For cell phone?
It is a small cell tower. This particular area, they have essentially an overload on the system. Basically, this area is demanding or using a high volume of data, which is causing the main tower in that area to overload. So this is what's called an offload of a particular sector, which offloads the data in this particular area. So both the main tower and this small cell then will handle the capacity that this community is demanding. Basically has to do with everyone streaming or using wireless data in this particular neighborhood.
Okay.
Now, this says for AT&T, is this for all the cell phones, Verizon, all of them, or just AT&T?
Just AT&T customers, correct?
Yeah, because they just put one up on Delaware Avenue on the hill, Verizon, that I believe it was.
I mean, the main infrastructure of the towers is complete. It's now filling in the gaps or creating satisfying areas that are having high demands for data. And that's where we're incorporating the small cell technology, which is just the small antennas to handle the offloading of the data off the main antenna systems.
And that's the pole they just put up a couple.
Chuck's the mayor of Kentucky. So
I live on Pocahontas.
So it basically consists of a small antenna that sits on top of the utility pole. Then there's a small box, which we show in the simulations, which takes care of the radios. Each small cell has a disconnect. So if the utility work or if the pole is hit or anything like that, the cell signal can be turned off by anyone at the site. And it's mounted at an appropriate height to not affect the surrounding community.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
We did provide simulations so the community can get used to what these look like when they start to see them.
Okay. So this is short environmental assessment. It's just an unlisted. We gotta do one. Yeah, I haven't had one of these in a while. We'll blow the dust off of this. Under seeker, this is an unlisted action, so we have a short environmental assessment form before us that is in order. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve it. Do I have a second? Second by Emily Hamilton. We're gonna do a roll call. These two don't. Seeker.
Yeah.
Still have to do that.
What's your name and a record?
All right, so the second by Emily Hamilton. So under roll call, Wayne Platt is a yes. We have to do this for seeker. Charles Palaco,
Is a yes.
Kevin Roach,
Yes.
Vince Archer,
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
That's carried. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 3. We need to have on that board policy 6 and what cover?
It's a right of way.
Okay, and also obtaining a right-of-way permit from the Department of Public Works. That is a motion. Accept. Do I have a second on that? Second. Second by Vince Archer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is 609 Broadway, special permit to occupy 8 residential units in the mixed-use overlay district. Section block and lot is 56.109-3-17, seeker determination, zone C2, mixed-use overlay district, Broadway overlay district, Ward 4, JMS 609 Broadway is the applicant owner. Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure no one's here to speak about it.
Anybody here to speak about 609 Broadway other than the applicant? Okay, item number 5. Uh, 381 and 385 Washington Avenue. It's a lot line deletion of the lands of 389 Washington LLC. Section block and lot is 48.330-1-3 and 2. Seeker determination. Did I give you an extra sheet there? Zone C2, Ward 1, Interante Development Group LLC is the applicant. 389 Washington LLC is the owner. Anybody besides Luke Interante here to speak on item number 5? Welcome. How are you? Good.
So we're before the board a little bit later with the site plan review.
Okay,
This is just for the lot line deletion. So we submitted the application with an illustration on the survey map to show that that line that separates the two parcels currently being.
jumps out.
Lots are
Sounds like-
currently vacant,
All right.
combining them for development purposes.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. Seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 5 with board policy 6 applied, and also the written descriptions and the appropriate amount of paper copies and Mylar copy to be submitted to staff. Second on that? Hamilton with a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. See you in a little bit.
I mean, he's
You wanna
on
just-
for item number 7.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I was gonna ask them. So we jumped to 7.
That's an option.
There's
I'm sure that,
is 690?
I don't think they're here yet.
Okay,
Okay.
Jimmy Buff and Crystal Force.
we'll keep you here.
Right, that's good.
The folks from item number 6 are not here, the applicants. Is there anybody who wants to speak on item number 6 during the public hearing? It's number 693 Broadway. Okay, we're going to come back to that when they do arrive. I don't know if anyone was here for that. Okay, moving into new business. Item number 7 is 381 and 385 Washington Avenue. It's a site plan for construction of a 6,768 square foot commercial building. Section block and lot is 48,330-1-3 and 2. Seeker determination, Zone C2, Ward 1. Interante Development Group LLC is the applicant. 389 Washington LLC is the owner. Let the record show that Luke Interante is here again. This and
So since the last meeting, we've done a few light updates to the plans, showing spot elevation and grading. We revised the signage, so we moved the no exit sign further to the west, so it's visible before somebody reaches Washington Avenue. We've added a no entry to Washington Avenue along with some arrows on the pavement depicting that. Added street trees to the Joy's Lane side, 2 river birch in lieu of the boxwoods that were previously shown. Additional sewer connection and details to the site plan, stormwater calculations, and infrastructure to manage the stormwater was submitted to the city. John Schultes, the engineer. We don't have any comments back on that yet. I believe he's still reviewing it. And then most recently, we received the recommendation letter from the Ulster County Planning Board, providing a response earlier today that just outlines that we're in agreement basically with all of it. We had some lighting spec for the wall packs we submitted with that response letter, and we're working on the photometric plan to design lighting consultant, so we'll get that over. Some signage has been detailed. Sustainability was sort of the biggest item. So we'll make provisions for EV charging stations. We are changing the plan to go from all natural gas powered heating equipment to air source heat pumps in the office side. And then radiant natural gas tube heating in the garage area.
before we go into the few items that the county has identified for required modifications, can you just go over the traffic pattern again on ingress and egress?
Yeah, so basically Joy's Lane entrance will be in and out. So if you look at SP1, See that on the, yep, so you can see the two arrows indicating entry and exit on the Joyce Lane side right there.
Mhm.
And then at basically across from the handicap spot, we moved that signage. So there's there's an upright sign there that's letting folks know that there's no exit, that it's an entrance only off of Washington.
Okay.
Previously, that sign was closer to Washington Avenue, so the fear, Sue brought this up, that somebody would already be driving down to Washington before they would see that sign. And then facing Washington Avenue, we have a no entry only sign to let folks know that they can pull in and they don't have to wait to see if anybody's coming out. And also an arrow there showing that it's entrance only off Washington. So,
Same thing here too, so I'm not ignoring that.
no.
All right,
So yeah, most of the traffic are, day to day will be in and out of Joyce.
all right, so some of the county responses here. The lighting. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so the wall pack lighting, we identified wall packs on the elevation drawings already, although they weren't spec'd out. So that's the fixture that we're proposing to use, and our lighting consultant is working on a photometric. But the county did give guidelines for that, so we're gonna make sure that.
Followed them? Okay. And signage details were submitted, so signage details were submitted. I'm just going by item by item here.
Next page. There you go.
Yep. I was also talking about the signage
Right.
for. And sustainability.
So sustainability, they brought up EV charging stations and wanting to have the infrastructure for those. So what we're gonna do is basically rough those in to be built and mounted from the parking spots. So they can easily be added without having to redo anything.
And those will be open to the public?
Yes.
Yep. Standard
Yep.
those have been met.
Right.
So it's just. Yeah. Refuse removal?
We don't expect to generate a lot of waste, so we plan to use the city receptacles.
And does it come out to Washington on that side, or does that matter? I don't know where they
You
pick
could
up.
put it on Joyce Lane side.
Yeah, we would
Because that's.
use the Joyce Lane side.
Okay.
Schedule, yeah.
So we got to take a vote to.
The only
say
other
that-
concern that I had, Luke, was when I was thinking about it, the proximity to Washington Avenue with the construction. You may end up having to close off that sidewalk area during construction, so that will require DPW permit. So I would recommend strongly that you do some pre-survey of the existing conditions there of the sidewalk, because if it gets damaged, you will be responsible for the repair and restoration.
Understood. Yeah, it's actually a new section of sidewalk across the property on Washington Avenue. So
Right.
we're hoping to make our utility connections on Joyce Lane, so we'll have minimal disturbance on Washington Avenue, but we are aware that we have to.
Okay, yeah, I'm just thinking with the proximity of the building structure and excavation and
Excavate.
that, with heavy equipment.
Understood.
Okay,
So we don't have final sign off from the engineer yet on.
we don't, but that can be.
Great, that'd be a condition. Now, this is a storm. Anything else?
County comments, you just.
Well, can we just include that in our, that we've, yeah. We're gonna acknowledge that in the
Mhm.
decision that the county is required for applications have.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? All right, so this is an unlisted act as well. Just, this is an unlisted act.
The only other question is, does the board feel that a
Oh,
we should get a
performance bond.
cost estimate for a bond. For a performance bond, or are you satisfied that you will not need one?
I'm okay with that.
Rest of the board?
I agree.
Agree.
Okay.
Same time you.
All right, so as I mentioned under seeker, this is an unlisted action. I have before me a short environmental assessment form. At this time, I'm motion that we approve it. Do I have a second on that? Second by Kevin Roach. So sure, Kevin Roach. Roll call vote on this. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco,
Yes.
Kevin Roach, Vince Archer,
Yes.
Emily Hamilton. All right, that is passed. That's approved. All right, so this is my list. Okay. At this time, I will make a motion that we approve item number 7 with board policies 4, 4A, 6, 7, 7A, 14, 19, 25, and 26. And one of those is the Knox box requirement. One of those, all right. We're going to require a stormwater sign off by the city engineer. We're also going to show that the Ulster County Planning Board list of required modifications has been met by the applicant. And the applicant is to contact DPW if sidewalk will be closed off. Okay. And that is it, right? Okay. That is a motion to accept that. A second on that? Chuck? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Good luck. All right.
Appreciate it very much.
Is here. Back to section.
Back to number 6, okay. 627. All right, going back into public hearings. Number 6, the applicant here for that 693 Broadway, and 695. Special permit renewal / amendment to the approved site plan to demolition and new construction of a 1,541 square foot building along with site improvements. Section block and lot is 56.92-3-19.100. Secret determination, Ward 4, Zone C2, Broadway Overlay District, Heritage Area. Radio Kingston is the applicant owner. Anybody here besides the applicants and owners to speak on item number 6?
The landscape designer.
For the public hearing.
Yeah, we just need to know if
Public
anybody's going to
needs
talk. Yeah. Okay, welcome, folks. Can you state your names for the record?
Jimmy Buff.
Asia Hudson.
Thanks.
All right, so tell us what you want to do here.
So you previously had approved actually is a larger structure, and it's interesting what the pandemic and the pause can do for retrospective and thinking. It just seemed like it was a little bit out of character for the neighborhood and bigger than we needed. So we're Scott Dutton redesigned the building, basically the existing footprint without any extension going beyond the second bay. And yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Okay.
We're downsizing, but staying the same.
Asia, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about the landscaping component in the front, because it's quite, it's an extensive landscape plan for Broadway. It's unusual, a little different.
Well, we're just hoping to make the community feel really welcome, be able to come in and use the space and just have it really be an extension of, the streets. We're going to be using sidewalks that match and the unilock that matches what you've done on Broadway already, so that it feels very cohesive with the city. It's a primarily native style planting. And, trying to add some green space and help with more drainage in the city. There'll be a lot of permeability.
Right. But the idea, just to explain to the board, the idea is for it to be like an area there where people can sit and basically enjoy maybe music. It's a small event type space. So it's like open to the public. It's like a public kind of quasi public
Yes.
space.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's privately owned.
Anybody else need to see this? What?
Yeah.
It's not much different than what was originally proposed. It's just now around the different design of the building a little bit.
Is there going to be any solar on site at all?
There already is.
Okay.
Yeah. Both on 693 and on the annex building behind it.
Fruit trees, they'll be open for the public to
Hmm?
come and pick the fruit, the raspberry and the peach
Yeah.
and
Blueberries along the front.
Absolutely.
great food.
Yeah. Hi.
I know. Yeah.
Concert.
Is it on? Is it
Might be, it will be offered to the public.
small or is it?
There as
Oh,
well.
I
There
see.
may be speakers, there may be people in presentations, it might be used for another organization to host a meeting. It's designed to be.
Yeah.
Has the generator's been already installed? Yeah.
Yep, kept us on, helped keep us on moving the storm.
Any problem with noise or anything washing over into the neighbors at all?
No complaints, no. It's remarkably quiet for the size that it is, the generator.
Yeah.
And refuse and recycling, where's that going to be stored?
It's currently stored behind 693 to the lower right. So it's behind that building where the driveway and the car is. And we wheel it out every Tuesday morning.
So you do have a spot for it to.
Yep.
So I guess no dumpster, right? It's just you're wheeling that stuff out.
Yeah.
So did they already have a term before with the previous submission? Was there a term with that?
I don't know. But I think we'll just discuss, this is new construction, so.
Okay,
we'll
well, we can do it for
Yeah.
a year, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I think so.
So we're gonna talk about the term for the special permit, this is new construction. And we'll see how the board feels about it, but typically we set a year for the first term. See how things go when construction's all done, whatever. And come back for that renewal, if everything's good, which I'm sure it will be. Building safety will do their inspection. And we'll have an inspection done by staff. And we can discuss extending that, at that time. So typically we do a 1 year. And does the board feel good with that for the first term as a 1 year? Chuck, you good with that? So I guess we'll do it 1 year. We got that down? Okay.
Yeah. Area Commission also waived.
Good. Heritage Area has waived their design standards for this. Put that in the record.
Mhm.
And anything else? Any other questions from the board? Okay. So this is type 2, huh?
This
Under
is.
seeker,
Yep.
so because of the square footage, so no further review of the board is required for that. At this time, I'll make a motion, excuse me, that we approve item number 6 for a period of 1 year with board policies 4, 4A, 6, 10, 11, 14, 19, 23, 25, and 26. And what's this one here?
That's if they do hold special events, they need to get special
Oh,
permits for the noise.
If you have
level.
events, special events there, you're gonna have to secure a noise permit from, is that from KPD?
Yeah.
Oh, from
Plenty.
planning board, planning office. Okay,
Yep.
so that's all a motion. Do I have a second? A second by Kevin Roach. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Was out there. I don't know what's that.
Saw that.
Yeah. Didn't know of anybody.
All right, item number 4, they're still not here. Okay, item number 8 is 86 Smith Avenue, site plan to install signage overhanging the public right of way. Section block and lot is 48.82-1-8, secret determination, zone C3, Ward 5, Bethany Obrecht, correct? All right, is the applicant owner. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bethany is here.
I am-
All right. Oh, the trolley barns?
Probably, yeah.
The old plumbing supply, right?
No, no,
TJ?
That's it.
Say, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
D and J.
I wasn't.
Yes,
It was a
okay.
tobacco distribution. Candy
It
distributor.
was, yeah, it was. So tell us what your plans to do. It's probably going to be short and sweet, right?
Yeah, we just want to put a sign outside our new factory building. Next phase would obviously paint the facade, but this is just a beautiful sign that we want to put outside that has a little, it's a little bit of a neon feature. The little heart is a neon feature, essentially. But yeah, we make accessories for dogs. So we want to.
Majority of your business is online.
We actually distribute to stores all over the world.
Okay. Wow.
Pretty big in Japan as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're selling to Japan, South Korea, all over Europe.
Is there a retail component on site here?
We just opened a little
It's a little.
kind of showroom area.
Okay.
We would love people to come visit, so.
Yeah.
Your friends.
Okay. And I see in our notes here that you've also discussed maybe a mural on the side,
Yes, that is next phase. We would love to do some awareness because we want to raise awareness for animals that need homes.
Okay.
So wanted to paint.
And they've probably already informed you, you're going to have to go talk to the zoning enforcement officer about that, all those requirements for that. So
Okay, no problem.
whenever that happens.
Yeah, that's down the road.
All right, any other questions from the board? Under seeker, this is a type 2 action, so no further review of the board is required. So at this time, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 8 with board policy 6. And that's it.
Yay, thank you.
Do I have a second? Second by Vince Archer. I pulled that right out of you, didn't I?
Right, yeah.
The eye.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is so good to be in person again, isn't it?
I think it's easier.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, moving into old business. Is he Dago here?
No, he is not.
All right. Let's go. Item number 9 is 685 Broadway. Special permit renewal for auto sales and repairs. Section block and lot is 56.92-3-21. Secret determination zone C2. Heritage area, Broadway overlay district, Ward 4. Dago A. Maratz is the applicant owner. Mr. Maratz is not here.
Again,
So we have tabled this at some previous meetings. We're awaiting compliance with the building safety inspections. And can you give us a report on that?
The building department did go back and do a reinspection. The violations were not corrected. So they have now issued a remedy, a notice to remedy. So he is under that right now. And I do not know, when is that? 30 to 60 days? Okay.
So we're kind of compelled to table until we get a decision. on
I
this.
would, right, I would table it. And if not completed, let the building department take the enforcement action
Yeah.
that they're moving forward with. And then once he corrects his violations, have him come back.
question. Can we vote no and make him just start all over again? Or because it's under the remedy, we have to.
Well, we probably should wait for that
That
course to take it.
I did
Take
ask to talk to Matt about that and Jankowski, and I was not able to get an answer today.
But I would suggest we table until that issue comes to be, going to court. The order of remedy, if he doesn't fix it, then it's going to be.
They'll take him to court. They'll fine him and
And the building safety is the enforcement arm. So if they find that, the judge's decision that the violation, they can say that they're in violation of their site plan and get back to us, obviously, right? And we can make the decision to revoke it, or do they do it at their level? What do they?
the judge, I don't think the judge would do that.
No, but I mean, it would come back to us to say we're not going to approve his.
Right, you can revoke it.
Yeah. So we'll wait for that, right? Does that make sense? I think. I know it's been arduous, this journey, him not being here at times. So
He hasn't been here in what, 6 months?
it's getting back to, it's getting to the next level that, we mean business and the city means business, and we're going to hold his feet to the fire on this. So, right? Sound good? All right. So I'm going to make a motion that we table item number 9. Second on that?
Oh, are we gonna table to further?
Table
When
for
this is,
enforcement action, right?
Yeah, for the legal, for it to find, to make its way through the legal system.
To be satisfied.
Yeah.
Okay, we only need to put the reason down.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. Chuck, with your-
no, I just was wondering if you were gonna put a time frame on it somewhere, and who just answered that.
I don't know if we can put a time frame on it, can we?
I mean,
We can bring it up next month again and see where it is. I don't know what's the date on the order to rent? We don't know what that is.
I
either.
don't.
Okay. So we can table it for a month.
I can, well, you can do for enforcement, you can just under the existing notice to remedy. And it'll follow that time frame, whatever that is.
I guess that makes more sense. We don't have to bring it up each month as
Right.
it is. So we'll just discuss it again. Right?
Okay.
Makes sense?
Is he doing business now?
We're still
Yes.
doing business, yeah.
I see that mobile food thing's going off the street.
Yeah. All right, so that's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin Roach. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Put the trailer in. All right. Okay, item number 10 is 63 Golden Hill Drive, site plan / special permit / subdivision. For construction of intergenerational affordable mixed income, 164 unit housing community. Section block and lot is 56.4-1-19.3. Secret determination, zone triple R. Ulster County is the owner. Enrose, NY Developer LLC is the applicant. Hi, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Please.
So what do you want to do? Yeah. Any response to those comments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got this handy dandy recording here, so we can state your names for the record, please.
Sure, I'll start. Will Bella, Emirates.
Walter Kubo, Bella.
Haley Begando, Labella.
Bruce Chamberlain, WRT. Dennis Doyle, Worcester County. Tom Johnson, Long.
Welcome, everybody. So the public comment period has ended, the written comment period ended. So you want to start talking about some of the responses to some of the comments that were germane to what's going on here? We start with that and
Yeah, sure. I can kick it off. I guess there were a few items from staff comments, though, that, weren't entirely resolved that we'd like to
to
address.
start with public comments, staff comments,
That, get the ball rolling. and
get the ball rolling.
free to ask us
That go.
anything that comes to mind. There are a number of items that were, I guess, in progress, and we noted that accordingly, we gave our written responses to the staff comments, one of which was the school board. I believe the board asked for a determination, school board on the project. So a few weeks ago, we met with a number of members of the board and delivered our calculations of the number of expected school children to be produced for development and asked them to produce a statement of impact for you. Unsure if it's been received by the board yet, but
I have not received anything. So do you know who was the individual that you dealt with over there?
met with the superintendent. Yeah. The president of the board. President.
Jim Shaughnessy?
I would characterize those discussions as not a capacity problem.
Okay, all right. We can follow up too with them to find out. You need that statement.
They have a draft letter from us to consider. I think, given the holidays and everything else that's been involved in the spring break, slow them down in terms of response.
Okay. Okay. And I know that you did meet with the water department or
Yeah.
county.
Related, similar topic. We met with the water department for the second time earlier today. And I guess I would characterize the conversation similarly in that we asked them for essentially a statement of impact for the project or a will serve letter. And
I think the answer is the water department does not issue those serve letters. And has not passed, but they've indicated to us that they have the capacity.
And they did send a letter today.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah, they basically said the water department is aware the water supply for the proposed housing development is a concern of the planning board. The water department has the capacity to provide water to the proposed development at Golden Hill Drive, as referenced in the Chase and Company's letter to the city engineer dated October 27, 2022. A condition of this supply is the service connection is made directly to water mains owned by the Kingston Water Department. So right now, the service is owned by the county, so it would either have to be turned over to the water department, or they would have to put a longer lateral on their project.
We're aware of their.
Okay.
Essentially, for some reason, the water supply system that's on Golden Hill. And I would characterize that discussion as being, we will work on the discussion with respect to Penrose and the project is separate and apart with respect to ownership of the system. Clearly, the county and certain desirous to not own that system if the city wants.
Right. Okay, good. I will say that after the last meeting, we also got an updated recreation plan, which has been forwarded to the Recreation Commission for the city. So we are asking their feedback in terms of what a potential payment in lieu of parkland or quote unquote rec fee would be, or what they would recommend. It's this board to assign it, but we always get their feedback. So we're still waiting for that as well. Okay. On the traffic situation, everybody is aware that the city has engaged GPI, Freeman Peterson Incorporated, as a consultant for the planning board. And we've had at least one or two back and forths between GPI and Labella. Labella's responses were the last to be received. GPI has reviewed them. We did an internal meeting today. We're going to revise a couple of issues there, and then that should hopefully go out by the end of the week. And then what we would like to do is hopefully get a turnaround from that fairly quickly. I'd like to get GPI's final report done by the end of the month, so that if possible, we would have GPI present their final report to the planning board next month. That's my kind of strategy right there.
And Dennis, has the gate that's been talked about, what's any more development with that with the county?
Let me explain the issues in terms of the county's willingness versus its ability to do that. The Glen Street access to Golden Hill is an extension of Golden Hill Drive, which runs all the way from Route 32 property to Glen Street. When we subdivided the property off in terms of the sale of the nursing home, we granted an easement along that road for the nursing facility. So that easement extends for the length of Golden Hill Drive to Glen Street. It has a condition on it that basically says we cannot block it. So we've been working with the nursing facility to try to arrive at a means to essentially install a gate. I would characterize those discussions as cordial and willing to work with us. I would say this, that their concern is not emergency access, as in that there's an emergency there and the fire department has to respond. They also are concerned that ambulances, in terms of the travel time, are able to access, use that Glen Street as an access. So the conversation has been essentially not to use a chain or something like that, but actually use a gated facility that has some sort of coding or way for us to allow those individual first responders access to the facility. And that's what we're having the discussion about with respect to the nursing facility. We believe we can come to an agreement with them on allowing us to close that facility, that access point. I think they're as concerned with respect to being a good neighbor as we are.
And I have had that a similar conversation with both our fire chief and our police chief, and they feel that exactly the same way, that as long as there is some kind of mechanism for them, so they don't have to get out of a truck, unlock something. If it's siren activated, if it's, some code kind of thing,
Yep.
whatever.
We've had a conversation with the city engineer as well, with respect to the type of gate that we use. And I would say this, that the county, if we can arrive at a conclusion with respect to the facility, the county is willing to essentially install that prior to the project. And even if the project is not moved forward, although that is not a desirous outcome, to address the issues with respect to Glen Street. And we certainly want to get it installed prior to construction so that construction workers are not able to essentially use that access and move to use essentially 32.
Is there anything the board can provide you with that would assist you in that negotiation or discussion?
Why don't we talk offline?
Okay.
Because my sense is that the city has certainly shown its desire to close the street with respect to the signs that are up there right now, which say no access point. So I think everyone is aware of the fact that the city is desirous of this to happen. The mayor certainly taken his authority essentially to close that street off. So now it's literally essentially, instead of trying to break the law by going through those no access signs, to essentially begin to essentially restrict that so that it becomes much more difficult to essentially access the facility. I would say the other thing that we want to do is work with the city DPW to install a no outlet sign at the beginning of Glen Street so people don't go up and have to turn around.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, and maybe just a sign too for Golden Hill, just to say, I don't know, I would have to figure it out, but that you couldn't access the nursing facility by Greenkill.
Yeah, well, I mean, working with DPW, one would presume we'd want to do something that which is, you said eligible, which is.
Yeah, more wayfinding, basically. Yep.
The county's certainly committed to doing this.
Okay.
And I know at one of the previous meetings, you talked about the demolition of the building that's there right now. Where are you with that? Is that ready to go? I mean, is that
I'm sorry, if you could repeat that.
No, at one of our previous meetings, you had talked about the county wants to move forward with demolishing the building. And where are you with that now? Is that?
The legislature has a resolution to consider demolition. And that's one of the reasons we spoke to the board last month. Right. We're looking for guidance. So we're working through some of those issues with the legislature right now. It's in front of our environment committee. I would suspect that if anything, we would be considering the resolution at next month's legislative meeting. Okay. It would be, quite frankly, a significant help to us if the city could issue whatever secret finding it's going to make with respect to the project prior to that legislative meeting, which is the third Tuesday of the month. That would help, I think, us and certainly the legislature in terms of making its decision.
Thank you.
Question?
Yeah.
So if you could, and forgive me if this is somewhere and I missed it, but where in the traffic pattern are you going to block the street? Where's nursing home traffic going to come from? Up Glen or up 30?
No, it would come up 32. And we would block the street as you come into Golden Hill Drive. We'd block the street. Essentially, if you go up there, there's actually a sewer facility that exists right there. White pipe that comes up there. We want somebody to essentially be able to come in and get off the throat, Golden Hill Street, and then be able to turn around if they have to.
So that employee.
No, this would block the employees' parking is still accessible to Golden Hill Drive.
Golden Hill Drive. Okay, so the block will be.
So it would be before that road. There's like the little.
If you look at an air photo, if you come down towards the take a there right down onto Glen Street, we would block it somewhere in that location right there.
So people coming up Glen Street would not via vehicle be able to access the nursing home?
That's correct.
Okay.
Unless you had the code, obviously, to get through the gate.
Okay, because the emergency response would want to use Glen Street?
No, I think an emergency response may they're desirous of access mainly with respect to response.
Right, so they want to have the option of going either way.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Some of the public comment was directed at the stormwater management, and, again, we're not engineers. We rely on folks like you to take care, to handle those types of things. I'm not aware of any failing systems that have been installed previously. That's just what the public's talking about. Just touch on how you're going to be handling, based on in the wake of the public comment about the stormwater from this. How are you working on that? Let's,
Sure. So we
and I know you've already discussed this, but just to,
not a problem.
okay.
In fact, we have some materials prepared, and Haley, do you want to speak a little bit about our stormwater prevention plan and how it addresses?
And if I can say one more thing about that is, we had a pretty significant storm,
Yeah.
It was 3.7 inches or something down at the sewage treatment plant. So, how do we, I'm sure you're going to talk about that. How do we manage the stormwater for events? Like they're kind of rare, but they happen. So, if you want to just talk, just with that in mind too.
Stand up so I can point to the screen.
Really?
Yeah. Two color figures to make the stormwater more clear.
It's going all your way.
It is.
Existing impervious areas. And so we have the jail, parking in the front. Parking in the rear. And it moves all proposed impervious. So the total increase is about 1.1 acres increase of impervious. So since we are disturbing more than 1 acre of land, we need to follow the EC regulations and the speedies permit. So that requires us to capture, treat, and attenuate water before releasing it off-site. In addition to that, before we release it, we need to make sure that our proposed rates of discharge are less than existing. So if you go to the next figure, we broke the site down into 6 different design points, keeping the existing design points the same as proposed of where water currently flows and where it's going to continue. So we broke the site down into 6 places. Currently, we'll start with design point 1, which is to the north towards the nursing home. So our design point is an existing catch basin located near the rear parking of the nursing home. So how water from the jail currently gets there, there is an existing drainage manhole at the edge of the parking existing. So the jail and majority of the parking goes to that catch basin and goes down the hill towards the nursing home. The nursing home has its own closed stormwater facility network that goes throughout the parking of the nursing home and then continues in a sewer network down Gum Street. So the green area, the senior building, the majority of the loop road and the townhouses will connect to that existing structure that's on our site that continues down to the nursing home. The townhouses in the center, we're going to capture the water from the roof and send them to stormwater planters, where that will be treated before it going into the closed system. The senior building and roads, they will be captured through catch basins and the pipe network and treated with a hydrodynamic unit before going into that. The second design point is in red. Currently,
Let me just ask a question. So the amount of stormwater will effectively be reduced then than what
The
is
rate-
currently,
the rate at which it
right? It's
reaches that
the
design
rate at
point.
which it goes out will
Yes.
be held back, so it'll be, okay, controlled that way.
Yeah, the last page, when we get to it, shows the comparison pre and post rates, and
Okay.
that's an excerpt from our SWIP. So the second design point in red, the water existing that goes there would be the maintenance
and garage facility near the jail and that rear parking and storage area. That freely discharges off the pavement without any treatment to this wooded area to the west. So under proposed conditions, we're going to capture the parking area in front of the senior building and treat that with a hydrodynamic unit before discharging to that wooded area. The third is this orange portion. Currently, the maintenance garage roof and wooded area behind freely discharges to the neighbor's existing pond. Under proposed conditions, we are not sending any impervious area there. It's only going to be the existing roads adjacent to that. This pink area, under existing, it's mostly just the wooded area down the hill that discharges to the roadside ditch on 32. We're keeping that the same as proposed. No impervious area will go down to this roadside ditch. The fifth design point is this blue area. Currently, we have a small portion of the existing parking goes there, along with the area where the garden is and all the existing living area. So under proposed, we're sending the 3-story family building with that adjacent parking and the community building with the daycare. That roof will be captured and treated with a hydrodynamic unit for pretreatment, which will go to the bioretention facility, where if our testing finds that infiltration rates are acceptable, if the infiltration rates are not meet the requirements for our separation to bedrock is close, we will line that bioretention area and have under drainage that will discharge to an outlet. And one of the comments we received from the city engineer requested that a level spreader be put at the discharge to reduce the channelized flow and reduce the velocity that we're using. And then lastly, the whole area. This area is just the existing driveway, wooded areas adjacent along that drive. So we're not sending any new impervious to that. It's the same. Just to an existing catch basin with a culvert under our driveway.
So how would all of these systems handle?
Yeah, so the EC requires us to examine the 1, the 10, and the 100-year events, and then the city as an MS4 requires us to also analyze the 25-year. So this is an excerpt from our SWIP report, and there's the one for all sources, we reduce the flow rates. And that's a separate network. We're sending it to a closed network that flows through the parking lot of the nursing home and then continues down.
Proposed will actually be better than what exists. Any questions about the stormwater? Okay. You've done some borings. That's all been completed and right.
We submitted a geotechnical report with the boring map for you guys, I believe after the last.
So I don't know if you're prepared to answer the question. Is blasting going to be, you're going to see a need to blast up there?
I can't say specifically at this point. What we can tell you is that we designed the site to limit the need for it. And if it is needed, we will follow the existing city ordinances and in all extents use mechanical demolition instead of blasting to the extent possible. And that's what we can tell you at this point.
And have you met with some of the, I know Like at the last meeting we had, you know, some of the concerns from folks who have livestock or the pond, or I don't know if you had an opportunity to meet with those folks. I think you said you were gonna. I don't know if that has opportunity presented itself yet.
Sure. We were familiar with a number of individuals who spoke. I spoke with them earlier at some of our community engagement events, heard these concerns. The individual, the pond, we did speak with after the public hearing and talk through some of his concerns about discharge and pond. Simple conversation about how the stormwater prevention network works and fencing as well, property line. Sent back some of our thoughts to see if it would work for what he's thinking. Yeah, and lighting as well.
Lighting. And what else we have? Questions?
Yeah. I'm gonna open it up for the board members. I mean, you've had an opportunity to review staff notes, the plans, the elevations, architectural. Do you have any questions for the applicants or any concerns, additional concerns? Do you have any thoughts about the public comments? I know they've been circulated to all of you. Any opinions, thoughts, comments? Your time.
I think the comments we've heard tonight already have actually answered my concerns.
Okay. Chuck, anything?
I concur with my colleague here. KR.
Emily, anything?
My question was about the possible increase in these kinds of rain events that we saw over a week ago and how that, so we just read that. But then also, I was just curious, have you thought at all about solar panels? Would that work with the site? Are you considering it?
Absolutely. And we have Bruce here, who's a project architect, who should speak a little about how we're going into the buildings exactly.
Yeah, we did the initial studies for buildings. Put that into.
We are gonna do a subdivision.
This is the county has a commitment from Penrose to essentially look at.
HR is also encouraging that.
Yeah.
So we just table it, we just continue to consider the.
Hey, the biggest concerns I hear is the traffic. There's a lot of people upset traffic now. Some people say they're complaining because they don't want traffic in the street. Some with the amount of traffic of the, your accidents and that with 32. So that is a big question. That's something that I'm seriously considering, but I have done really hard to everybody, all the people we're hiring, back says it would be a problem. But
Who ultimately makes the decision about a light on 32?
Our traffic guy person is gonna, who's doing that, it should be here.
Okay.
Is anything?
No, because
Any comments, questions?
the last meeting, a lot of people in the area are complaining about the stormwater notes and it seems like you kind of addressed some of that. In terms of the layout. Great. Have questions over that. And blasting is the other, since that whole ridge is rock. But you talked about how you're going to minimize it, use mechanical versus blasting. That's good as well. But if it's a rock, I think it's called Hudson Valley bedrock, which is pretty hard. And I had a similar issue where I had to we couldn't do it mechanically. Well, we'll work out the notifications with the people in the area. So we didn't really have any problem.
Dennis?
I just wanted to address that comment because I think, you know, I would say a couple of months ago, I would agree with the statement that the whole ridge is rock. But when we looked at the geotech report from that was done, what we found is there's actually quite a bit of overburden on top of that rock. And so we start to say that they start to talk about, they don't understand how much we're going to have to blast. It's the number of holes that you drill versus where rock could crop up. But they've actually talked about raising the site up so that they can avoid any blasting to the extent that they know rock is there.
Yeah, you took us up there and
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah, that one knoll in the back.
Yes.
Yeah.
that one.
But I was surprised in terms when we looked at the geotech report, how much burden was on consolidated was on top of that rock.
That's good. Yeah.
Is that in terms of drafting all of the required easements that will be necessary for the project?
We're ready to get started as soon as.
Okay, because that, you might want to start working on those because that will also fold into the subdivision approval. And they'll also have to be reviewed by our corp counsel. So as soon as you can start preparing and getting those drafts to us, then we can start doing that review because there will be multiple ones.
Will that be a post-approval item or prior to?
Well, they're going to have to be shown, a lot of them will have to be shown on the subdivision plan itself. So you'd have to define them with meets and bounds and describe them and responsibilities, things like that.
Okay. We have some initial thoughts on that. We'll have more.
Okay. Okay.
And one other thing was, you know, when we, Dennis, you hear all these public comments quite often on your end of the county. And, you know, while I do appreciate all the public comment, you know, we do have to do a lot of sifting through what are germane issues to what a planning board can hear and what are not. And I think quite often the public thinks that we're not listening to them in certain aspects, like speeding through the area. That's an enforcement issue, right? That's not a planning board issue. We have pilots that are discussed. That's not a planning board issue. Taxes, people's taxes, whether the infrastructure can handle, you know, the police, the fire. Those are not planning, while they might be planning board issues. But not part of seeker, but like the pilots, the speeding, taxes, you know, these are all certainly issues that are on people's minds, but, you know, these are issues that are not handled by a planning board and making a decision. So, you know, I think sometimes people lose sight of, you know, that the planning board is not listening to them, and when in fact we are, and we are guided by certain guidelines as to, you know, what we can hear and what we cannot hear. So, but I do appreciate, you know, like I said, I'm not an engineer. There are people who profess that they're, you know, that they're engineers, a layperson. So, you know, it's good that we have folks that can give us answers to these questions and you know, in a logical fashion. So I just wanted to make that known that, you know, when we're faced with public comment, what we can and cannot hear. So we still have a lot of issues to talk about with, we're still waiting for our engineer to weigh in on a final decision, right, with that. The SWIP, our traffic engineer will be here at the next meeting. And there's some other issues that are going on. So, you know, any more questions tonight from board? We can.
One thing with signage, I like your signage and your program that you have, the style, the materials, I think they're great. Maybe I missed it because there was so much information that came in at once. Is there a plan where it shows where those individual signs are going to actually physically be located? Like the freestanding monument style signs, the directional signs? Is there like a sign plan layout that shows where they will be situated around the site?
We'll put it together, but
Okay.
what we wanted to demonstrate is sort of the sign standards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought they were, I really liked them. I thought they were very nicely done. Very simple but classic. And I like the material, like I said, I like the material, like the sizing of them. I just would like to see where they're going to be situated around the site. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I didn't see illumination on them. That was the other thing. I didn't see lighting on them. If they're going to be, none of them appeared to be internally lit signs. So I would assume ground mounted or some other kind of.
So lighting sign will have lighting in it, so that would not be the problem.
Okay.
Probably enough ambient light.
Okay.
We will put a shine on the signs. If they be at corners where you would typically find lighting.
Right. Yeah. Okay, great.
Questions?
If I may, just a quick one on Sue's, on the easements. We would intend to do the same ones, the same type of easements that we did for Golden Hill. So we did not do bounds descriptions, particularly for the water and sewer infrastructure. We did meets and bounds for the access easements, et cetera, but then there were generalized easements for water and sewer. Is that acceptable? I hope.
That would be a decision of our corp council.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Okay. I'll make a motion that we table item number 10. Do I have a second? Second by Kevin Roach. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
Great, thank you. See you all again.
I believe stage. What do you think? You do.
Yeah. All the trouble. Right.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the chamber board. Yeah, I know Jim. Yeah, I'm on the chamber membership board. I like to, sit on his. My husband says, why? Huh. I'll see Jim tomorrow morning.
I see him, we go out every week.
We're supposed to meet in person tomorrow morning.
Item number 11 is 9-17 and 21 North Front Street and a portion of Fair Street Extension.
Ward was too nervous.
It's a site plan, special permit to construct a mixed-use building
Being
with a
nervous.
420 car garage, 143 apartments, 32 hotel rooms, and 8,000 square feet of retail space. Section block and lot is 48.80-1-25.100. 26. Secret determination zone C2, mixed use overlay district, Kingston Development LLC, the applicant, Kingstonian Development LLC, and City of Kingston are the owners. Okay.
Then sign.
Useful, Chip.
I don't buy nice weather.
Let the record show that Brad Jordan, Mike Moriello, and Dennis Larios are here. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are you? Been a while.
Yes.
How are you? Good. Good. So, let us give us a.
What we thought we'd do since is first show you where the project has been since we were last in front of planning board, which was 2 years ago, I think, in March. So I created a list, and I think might be the first slide that you could pass this around, and I know Sue's got dates for all these. Did you get my email today, Sue? I gave you copies of all the documentation. and everything.
I did.
It was probably later. I usually do it Tyler vote. Like maybe 4 o'clock.
Anyone?
It's the same spreadsheet, but it had
The dates.
backup.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
So we spent from fall of 2018 through pretty much the end of 2019 dealing with seeker studies and involved agencies, and you're on board. And I know you have a few new members acted as lead agency. And that process was completed December of 2019. And that had to be completed before any other boards could take any actions. So that's the number one on the list. Shortly after that, no adverse impact letter was received from New York State Historic Preservation Office. The Common Council did a zoning amendment to, as you recall, the Elena's Diner, which became the Uptown Grill. A small piece, about 3/10 of an acre, was not in the mixed-use overlay district. So the council took an action to extend the mixed-use overlay district to include that small parcel at the bottom of the hill, which is Elena's. The Ulster County Industrial Development Agency approved a pilot agreement. The planning board approved a lot line consolidation of the 2 Herzog parcels, the diner and the warehouse parcel, which totals 8/10 of an acre on that eastern half of the eastern portion of the project. There was an approval of business plan and transfer of the city parking lot, which was the old parking garage site. Prior to that, it was Montgomery Ward's. That transferred to the KLDC, and then the KLDC transferred the property to the developers, Kingstonian Development LLC. After that, the city common council approved an easement to permit building within the city-owned roadway, which is Fair Street Extension. That area is approximately 3/10 of an acre. That easement also included going over Schwenk Drive to a landing area for the pedestrian bridge, stair tower, and elevator on the Kingston Plaza side of Schwenk Drive. And after that, there was an approval to partially abandon that block of Fair Street Extension to allow for construction of an ADA compliant walkway and certain structures. Then we spent this winter with the Historic Landmarks Commission and the Heritage Area Commission. And I believe in March, we got their approval of those 2 boards. And Scott Dutton. I'd also like to say there's a new architect involved with the project as far as the building design. There's 2 new architects. One is Scott Dutton, who you all know, has been in front of this board many times. And then the housing studio from Charlotte, North Carolina, is doing the real production drawings. And they've done projects like this all over the Eastern Seaboard. There's also a landscape architect involved from Alexandria, Virginia, primarily. And what's been submitted to you in this application, the application was actually made back in the fall of 2018, but and preliminary plans were submitted, but we submitted for your consideration as a 43-sheet set of drawings that is roughly a third landscape architecture plans focused on the project perimeter and the pedestrian plaza. About 15 architectural drawings, which we'll go through briefly at your pleasure. And then about 15 site civil engineering drawings that deal with grading, utilities, and very boring things like that. So what we're hoping to do in the next 2 to 3 months is go through a process with you to get to a site plan and special use permit approval of the project. And what we had hoped to do is give you a brief overview tonight of the project for those of you who weren't here in the beginning. And also there's been some enhancements besides the architectural treatment of the building, which I think has been greatly enhanced. There have been other enhancements and minor changes that we can go through in a very short presentation and then talk about schedule. And we'd like to bring the whole design team here to present to you in detail in the near future and answer your questions interactively. And whatever questions you have from your review of these initial forms.
I know that you've also engaged a firm that deals specifically with parking garage design layout.
Yes.
Specifically, can we talk a little bit about the parking and the numbers and how that may have changed from the original review to what they are now, like what's allocated for the public and what is allocated for?
Numbers haven't changed significantly. Current garage plans, which at least the layout of those are in these documents in the architectural package. And the architect did hire a specialty parking garage firm to lay that out and go through numerous iterations. So at present, the plans show 427 parking spaces, which 143, that's one per each residential unit or apartment dweller, will have a spot, and everything else will be at large public, 290 plus. Right now, it's I guess it's about 296, 295 spaces for the public.
And the hotel will operate with a valet type
Yeah.
parking, and that's the idea for, and that would be off-site primarily. Okay,
If they're not going to stay in the garage, but 277 was the number we started at. So
right.
higher.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the minimum, that we're-
Okay,
but it has increased.
okay. Yeah. Good.
So maybe, and I did bring an expectation of possibly some technical difficulties. I at least brought you the colored renderings and elevations. Planning board member. But I will go up to the screen here. Yeah, I think I have them in order. This is just a cover sheet. It just shows the design team and the drawings that have been submitted. Project location. So everyone knows this, the former city garage is 1.4 acres. The Herzog parcels are 0.8 acres. And Third Street extension here, which separates the two sides of the campus. About approximately 0.3 of an acre. So the total site is 2.5 acres. And as you all know, it's substantially developed already. So this is redevelopment. Strong. Next one. This is rendering, and I think it's the sheet in your drawing of the project from corner. It's around from the Senate House and the Senate garage, showing the for now is the Herzog warehouse. The masonry building. And this shows what I call the West Campus, which is the building over the parking garage and Montgomery real estate. That's a version. This is the pedestrian plaza entrance, and that's the main West Campus building frontage along North Front Street. Over on this corner would be a entrance from Wall Street and North Front Street intersection to the garage, entrance only.
That's directly across from where.
Yes. Lines up right with Wall Street. It's a little different, slightly different from the garage entrance was to the city garage. Yeah. That was offset a little. This shows the elevation looking North Front Street to the building, West Campus, East Campus. This is the hotel with ground floor space and a restaurant. This is retail space here and apartments above. These are the hotel rooms. The applicant and the architectural team spent a lot of time with HLPC advancing these drawings based on public comment. We've actually over the past.
Yes. If I just want to add, if any of the board members want, we still have the material samples and color samples in our office. So if you are interested, certainly feel free to stop by. They're there and they're available to look at. Five is giving me an error message.
5 is probably the next sheet of you from Schwenk Drive, looking at the back, what we call the back of the project. So that's on your end.
This is on my folder at six.
I can show you how to get to 5 a little bit through the full set of plans, but on your paper copies, you can see elevation drawings looking at the project from really the Kingston Plaza entrance, looking up the hill. And this is slices through basically the pedestrian between east and west. This would be looking at the plaza view, looking at the elevation that faces the pedestrian plaza. One addition, which I'll show you in plan view. One addition or enhancement was this project, pedestrian plaza used to end at a retaining wall with a safety gate. So people could walk to the end of the pedestrian plaza, but that was it. So the new design team has introduced a grand stairway down to Schwenk Drive level. So it could also be used for events. And that's presented in more detail on the landscape plan. So that's one project enhancement that's been made. Also, even along the side of that, at the request of some bicycle enthusiasts, a runnel. Bicycle runnel has been added, so you can walk down the step, roll your bicycle down the runnel, and get to the lower level. This shows the pedestrian bridge over to the side, the other side of Schwenk Drive, near the plaza entrance. So if you want to leave the sign from the plaza on Schwenk Drive, you can take the pedestrian bridge, go down the stairs or down an elevator, or you can use the stairs yourself. This now will be ADA compliant. The whole site will be ADA compliant, but that walkway as well.
Section is.
Yes, it's actually right under the bridge. You walking towards where the entrance to the pedestrian bridge would be. This is a part of the treatment of the pedestrian plaza. This is kind of the north end of pedestrian plaza. This shows the treatment of the buildings and facing the plaza. Again, mostly retail space on the ground level and apartments above.
And these give the more representation of what the colors are going to be. I know this, it's different, it's difficult to match the two up. This is going to be
Yes.
really the.
This is what was endorsed by the
HLPC.
Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Those are in the office too, colors.
I also have that thumb drive too, if you need it, if you go to the HLPC presentation. This is looking, pedestrian plaza looking out towards North Front. This will be including a kiosk that was requested by SHPO, State Historic Landmarks Commission. And this is the treatment and gardens, and this is the hotel area.
And that plaza has evolved in the
Yes.
course of this whole, it used to, it was a one time a covered entrance.
Part of it was.
Yeah, part of it was.
And there was at one time a bridge which went over it.
Yeah, and I mean, how it evolved with this. There's a lot of. This is.
So you've seen, this is south there, you saw the north there. And this slide is showing the main gathering space, and there's a trellis and a stage, small stage for musicians to play. And there will be important, off of this pedestrian plaza, there will be public restrooms. I think all of you probably know there are no public restrooms uptown. Unless you want to run down this. This will have public restrooms maintained by the developer. All of this common space, which is still an easement over city land, will be maintained by Kingstonian Development LLC. Year round. This is a view from the air that shows the West Campus, the East Campus, and footprint. Some of you might ask, this design team spent a lot of time on this. How are you going to manage solid waste in this facility? So we had to go through that, where chutes would be and where they'd come down into the garage. And how they get wheeled out, and how recyclables will be collected. So all that has gone into the planning as we get into the nitty-gritty details. But this is the staircase. This is the pedestrian plaza, which plans I'll show you in detail. This is the entrance into the garage off of Schwenk Drive. To the garage, and then we'll exit. Out either side as well, and then you have the one entrance off of the front. This will be your main delivery corridor here. For deliveries to the restaurant, to the facility. And also for the pickup. Milled out in small carts on collection day. There will also be a smaller one here for that. There'll be an entrance here just for move-ins. Someone's moving an apartment, they can pull in, they'll drop their stuff inside the garage and right into an elevator to take it up to their apartment. On the fourth floor, which is street level on our front, although you won't see it from the street, there's an activity deck that will include recreational elements, a small swimming pool, barbecue areas, those kind of amenities for the apartment dwellers. Also, one other enhancement or change is originally there was a dog park proposed over here that just didn't fit once we figured out deliveries and how to get refuse collection in and out without bottling up the city streets. So the dog park has been moved to one of the roofs of the project. Not for artificial turf, and washed out system. So it's-
How's the landscaping? It was the Uptown Transportation Board that did a project with the landscaping along Schwank Drive. Did you tie into that somehow? or-
Yes, we've been meeting with their design team. Our project starts at this intersection, it goes out to Washington Avenue. And we've been coordinating, because they had a bunch of different alternatives they were looking at. We just gave them our plans and said, here's what we need, we just need an entrance in and exit out. And we need to cross. We moved, that's the other enhancement, I consider enhancement, is this pedestrian bridge used to sit right here, and we moved it easterly about 70 feet.
Did it just look better on that?
It looks a lot better, it's shorter, it's less obtrusive, and doesn't conflict with the railroad or overhead power lines or anything, it just falls very nicely. Just along the sidewalk of Shrunk Drive, which is on the Kings of Plaza side. There's an extensive landscape treatment along this part of Schwank Drive, where the building sits, just short of the sidewalk. You can see in the landscape. Next slide. Yeah, this is the overall landscape plan. I think you skipped one. Go back one. This is the overall landscape plan. It gives it a broad scale showing the whole project. Each area that's denoted here in the box, to blow up in a lot more detail in the landscape architectural plans that are really at a construction level that are being presented. But this shows the pedestrian plaza, the grand stairwell, all the peripheral landscape treatments that are provided for the project.
All of these drawings also have been uploaded to the website. So I would
Yeah.
encourage the board members to go on and really look at them.
I think for
And there's,
the formal presentation at the next
right,
meeting,
we'll go through each
hope
one.
to have colorized landscape.
Right.
These are black and white. That's 101. Try another slide. L102, that's showing the pedestrian plaza in a lot of detail. Bicycle runnels right here that I was talking about, the grand stairwell, the center landscape areas. This is where a small stage would be. A lot of this is in stone, but some of it is an artificial turf to break it up. Some of the shading area is in basically an artificial turf material. These are all planters. And the color will help us a lot. Treatment along North Front Street would remain as a bluestone sidewalk with brick trim, as it currently is. For those familiar with Uptown, you'll notice that in front of the warehouse, that bluestone had been paved over at some point with blacktop. And in front of the old parking garage here, it's still in pretty decent shape. The whole frontage will be treated with a bluestone brick mixture, and then there'll be a transition into the pedestrian plaza. These notes refer to details later on in the plans that you can go to and view on the website. With a 13-cent drawing from Studio 39. Okay, I think I'm here to answer questions, take any feedback, but this is just a small sampling of the presentation that we'd like to make with the people that actually put the pen and pencil here. I wouldn't say on the site civil, I didn't put many of the slides because they're boring, but they deal with sanitary sewer connections. We had promised during the secret process to try to take as much as we could out to the gravity sewer in front, so it wouldn't all go to the pump station on Frog Alley, and we've accomplished that. We're collecting and treating the stormwater because it's a redevelopment project. Both hydrodynamic separator on the east and west campus and a small rain garden area in that delivery zone along Upper Schwank. So that's pretty much true to what we had presented. Completely true to what we presented before, except that rain garden is an added element. And, we're working with Central Hudson on, as you know, there's an overhead power line that comes up Fairfield Extension and it goes underground for maybe the last third, and we're dealing with them and their design people on relocating that. And we're dealing with the city water department. Water service to the site, they've run hydro flow tests for us. The project will require a fire pump and a domestic service pump because we're going multi-story. And because we run everything through backflow preventers now, you lose 10 to 15 PSI pressure in the backflow devices. So we're going to boost after that, just variable speed booster pumps for the upper floors. The walkway, that's going to be the day working. Is that, how's that? I'm just thinking of security purposes. I don't think that's intended to be 24 hours. The walkway, the pedestrian walkway.
The way we left it last time, it was going to be open, the pedestrian walkway and the pedestrian plaza is going to be open for the same hours in the city parks. We're basically treating it like a city park, but we're flexible. I mean, that's what we're here for. So that was the idea. Restrooms as well. Obviously, there's an event. We'll stay open.
We haven't had that, I don't think that discussion was with the county.
The county wants to sit down and just talk about the route and the pickup stuff, so we still need to have that.
Originally, we thought we were gonna need an easement from the county for a portion of their railroad. Yeah. They own the 66-foot wide runs along the back of the plaza. And, on the other side of Short Drive, but we were able to, by redesigning the bridge, move it so we didn't need easement. As I said, the city has already provided an easement, common council to the project for stair tower. Bridge.
But the UCAT has been in consultation with UCAT about.
We want to have the conversation. Yeah, they want to sit down and talk about how we can
Be
a stop down.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that would make sense.
And I remember that the design of some of the buildings here was not to replicate something, but to take bits and pieces of the surrounding area into the design of, like, I believe that wasn't the Opera House considered talked about in the design of the taking elements of that, how the rounded corner of it.
I believe that they looked at other buildings that were constructed in Uptown.
Yeah.
That are historic in nature, but not the Revolutionary War buildings.
Right.
Subsequent buildings, and trying to pay tribute to those and by taking certain features.
I even think that you talked about the walkway paying some tribute to the railroad too, you know. Design it looks almost like a trestle, you know, to me.
Yeah,
You know, so.
that was redesigned based on public input.
Yeah.
Similar to the one in Grove.
Yeah, yep.
And just so you know, there are delivery drop-off zones on in front of the Senate garage across. And so beside deliveries in the back, if a UPS truck pulls up, there'll be a mail room just inside the plaza. A mail and box room, where things can be delivered there. Without blocking a lane of traffic like happens at the other end of the road.
I think though they made a little area there, so by the Senate garage where they.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Designated delivery.
Yeah.
Areas. There's also a delivery zone on Fair Street. Near the stockade. Yeah. There's 2 or 3 spaces that are.
And there was discussion, I don't know, with the city and the developer about a fee schedule for the parking? Was there?
The defer.
Yeah, the way that's left is we're gonna charge what they're charging on the hourly meter parking. And then the monthly one is gonna be obviously different because the city's.
So those talks are ongoing? I mean, is it not finalized yet, or is it?
It hasn't, but we just, from the get-go, we said, I think it was $1.50 an hour or something, whatever, I'm not sure what.
I don't know what, but I know that was part of I think that was part of the discussion too about.
It would follow
charge folks.
suit with the other public lots.
Yeah.
that the Uptown piece.
Monthly parking is different from monthly parking.
Will you still try to have your employees, the hotel employees parking over on
Well,
the plaza
so,
lot?
that's the beauty of the pedestrian walkway.
Right.
We have 1,500 spots in the Kingston Plaza, so
Right.
we're not, and that's where we didn't cover any of the overflow parking for whether it be employees, hotel guests, special events. Things like that.
Where's your valet parking going to be?
So the valet, as long as there's room in the garage, still naturally go in the garage, but if there's a problem, then we take the overflow down to the pond.
Right, one thing that you'll be seeing, Dennis did a calculation of Kingston Plaza. He took what the existing stores were, did a calculation of what their parking demand is under the code, and then also looked at what the plaza has currently in place. And then there is one area that really isn't defined, so calculated a number for that. So we've got those numbers of what is free and available. And obviously, we're not going to take, you wouldn't take all of that because Brad wants to expand and grow his plaza at the same time. But there would be some available for it.
We use it for construction, staging, parking, and we're gonna use it for the display city parking.
The numbers were roughly by use and zoning, your zoning table, about roughly 1,100 spaces required in the plaza. And based on all the current tenants, plaza is full. And I believe it was around 1,700 spaces that are row spaces available. So 500 to 600 plus excess over zoning in the plaza.
How will you handle the parking for the current footprint that's going to be
That's the
during
displaced parking, that's what we're
during
saying.
construction?
So we're gonna work with the city because we have to,
Okay.
at some point, we gotta put I'm thinking the construction parking goes down by the ball field. They can walk and the displaced parking goes down beyond Mac down by Dutch Village.
Okay.
So we have an area down there.
It was an at-large area that was all paved in the day when Sears had their garden center in the back of that.
Down by Dutch Village.
Yeah, towards Dutch Village. And Mr. Jordan is currently upgrading that to
Pile there now because we just repaved the parking lot last year,
Right.
so That's the.
To make it more structured parking again, used to be striped structured parking. Kind of got beat up over the years after Sears left, because there was no activity on that far west end. So now there will be again.
Was there a special meeting to read?
Yeah.
So we
need to do.
Yeah, I've got that.
And to
Thank you,
other
Dennis.
agents, over to, right,
Thank you.
to other city agencies. Well, I don't know, Mike, do you or Brad, do you have anything else that you want to add tonight, or speak to?
Waiting back from you guys. Excited, we're willing to work with you and ready for the input.
I think maybe one thing you could just talk about a little bit, you've brought in another partner into since the original application was made. If you want to just talk to that for a few minutes, for a second.
Well, he's working with us, and he's gonna help build it and finance it with us. They have expertise throughout, as I said, the whole eastern seaboard really. And it's a very complicated project. I think everybody understands that. The geotechnical stuff that we had to do recently. So,
Right.
So we kind of needed that added expertise.
Yep.
Scott felt he needed. Side too. So,
The other thing I would mention, because it came up during environmental review about energy. The city adopted what's called the stretch code. The state adopted a much stricter energy code 2020, but the city adopted what's called the stretch code, which is stricter yet. And complications with that are not many designers have worked with the stretch code in the United States. It's kind of coming over from Europe. And the reviewers, the code people, the building departments, et cetera, are having to get up to speed with it. But the design team is dealing with the stretch code right now as we speak, with the thermal envelope and all the other requirements in that code. And it will likely be an all-electric building as well.
Will there be EV chargers in the garage?
Yes. There's going to be chargers in the garage, but also provisions for more in the future.
Right.
So it's going to be wired. So as likely electric car usage increases, it'll be easy to add more chargers.
I believe it's 5% of the vehicle spaces right now under the stretch code, right? I would think it's 5% of your required parking has to be available for electric vehicles.
And the parking layout is in these plans and on the site under the architectural drawings, at least basic parking garage layout. It's on 3 levels. It's on the Schwenk Drive level, then 2 levels up. And actually it flows under the pedestrian plaza. Prior plans had it kind of segregated on each side of the campus. Yeah, but now it's all underground across integrated, one 3-story garage.
All right, so we still have to refer this to the county. Then others, what city agencies we're gonna look at to? Engineering.
Engineer, water, parks and rec, building and sewer.
Okay. Does that need to be a separate vote to refer those
Yeah,
to?
please.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that we refer this to the Ulster County Planning Board and other city agencies that Sue has just identified. Do I have a second on that? Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. We've also set up 2 special meetings Now, the May 9th, we talked about for what was that going to be? That's the landscape?
That's for the design team. It's not here tonight. It could be
Architectural and
It's everything.
Architect and the architect.
There would be like a very detailed review of all of the.
A more detailed presentation. I just showed you a snapshot tonight. But it's at your pleasure how long you want that to be, if you want it under an hour. It's all up to you. We're gonna fly those people up from Charlotte and Alexandria for the meetings.
But I mean, like you said before, we do have some new board members here. So even though yours was a snapshot tonight of what has already been discussed, those folks can certainly go into how we've arrived where we are with this, with, the colors, the design of the building, all that stuff,
We need to get basically a more detailed overview because that is site plan review.
Yeah.
All of those little details are going to have to be looked at, thought about, and considered. So while Dennis might have referred to another detail sheet that has, all of the signs spec'd out, it might have a park bench spec'd out, it might have refuse receptacles spec'd out. All of those details are part of site plan review. And that's what you're going to have to start paying attention to, those finite issues.
And the May 17th will be, we talked about having a public hearing because we got some new developments with the project, right? New, different elements have been changed, what have you. So we'll have a public hearing scheduled for that night as well. All right. May 16th meeting. Are you guys, I haven't looked.
No.
They're not going to be on the agenda for the
No.
16th. Okay. All right.
16th is what evening? That's not your regular.
16th is
the
our regular. Yeah. So
planning board.
17th would be Tuesday, the next day. So we're gonna have a regular meeting the 16th. You're not going to be here for that. And then the 17th will be the public.
The 9th and the 7th.
17th is the public hearing.
Correct.
The 9th, though,
Will be your design team.
yeah, so after that meeting, you can set another meeting for when you want to see us again.
Yeah.
Changes.
And then after the public hearing, we'll go into the next phase, what we got to do. So, yeah.
There's been a fair amount of public input on the project.
I've had bullhorns in my face, Dennis, all right? I got it, so. Okay, does anybody have any more questions tonight? Okay,
We just need to make a motion to set the special meeting for the 9th as a
Geez, I thought I just
presentation.
did that.
You really need to make a motion. And then the 17th public hearing, both starting at 6 o'clock.
okay.
Yes,
We've already done this,
we did that.
okay.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion at this time that we set May 9th, 2022 as a special meeting, presentation by the applicant's design teams. And May 17th, 2022 will be the public hearing, and they will both begin at 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second by Charles Palaco. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. And at this time, I'll make a motion that we table. Second on that? Second by Kevin Roach. Aye. Carried. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board. Thanks again.
Okay. Seeing you, folks.
Oh, no? Oh, that's right. Because, right, you have something else.
Oh, for events. Ariel, good to see you. How are you? Good. All right, we got board policies, which is item number 12. Revised board policy 17B. And policy to reflect newly issued executive order dated March 29th, 2022. Does this have to do with affordable housing?
It has to do with the affordable housing, the legislation that was used for policy has been pulled back because of the seeker question. So until the council adopts new legislation, the mayor is using an executive order privilege to require the affordable housing in planning applications. And what I'd like to do is just word that policy so that as the executive orders get replaced with new ones, that it will be updated automatically, so it doesn't have to come back to you. And that once the final legislation is replaced, that will be the basis of the board policy. You don't have to come back to you again.
That makes sense. Like I said, she said we already have a policy in effect, right? To deal with affordable housing, and this just would streamline that for any future changes.
Right.
So everybody agree with that?
The inclusionary zoning, right?
Is that?
Inclusionary zoning, basically. That of affordable housing, is this related to inclusionary zoning?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what
Any other questions? So at this time, we'll make a motion that we revise board policy 17. Executive order, and subsequent executive orders dealing.
And then follow that with any adopted,
But
future, any adopted by the council. That's the difference than the executive.
okay, yes, and well, yes, and to adopt any formal resolutions adopted by the common council. It's a motion.
Second by Charlie.
I think Emily had a second. in that.
Sure.
She Hamilton.
Okay.
And so all in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
You're not done yet.
Carried.
We have to go back. There was one we skipped over.
Okay. Good number 4? On the.
Yes, number 4. Wait, no.
We would have skipped right out of there. We just.
No, you wouldn't have, because I would have.
No, I mean, we were ready to go. Right? We were ready to go. All right.
All done.
Back in the public hearings, now, 609, this is item 4, 609. Okay. Special permit renewal to occupy existing building with ground floor commercial, 8 residential units above. Section block and lot is 56.109-3-17, secret determination, zone C2, mixed use overlay district, Broadway overlay district, Ward 4, JMS 609 Broadway is the applicant owner.
Yeah, unless you want to take a action on it. I would table it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they're not here. We think that maybe they thought Scott was going to represent them, and Scott is in town tonight.
This is the building next to
The
the
old
former
King's Inn.
site Kings, yeah,
Mhm.
to the left of it,
Yep.
so, okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we take item number 4. The applicants did not show. Second by Kevin Roach, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, hang on. Thing.
See it on our agenda.
I know. Good. And well, on item number 3, which was a special permit, we did not do a term. We just approved it with this was the antenna. Oh, it's a special use permit, so I would suggest just a term coincide with the.
The length of the lease, is it a lease on that thing, or is it?
Yeah. It's a lease
Or
on
if
the
any
pole.
other, what?
It's
Okay. And or if any new technology arrives where they have to come back and do something else.
Right.
I would usually do that.
Yep.
Because back in the day, we had antenna dishes size of this. So the term will be
Hire with the term of the lease, or if the equipment changes.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Who made the motion? Me
You
and
made them.
Vince, you want to second the amended motion on that?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, we're gonna,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
opposed? Carry.
Now you can leave after the vote.
Kevin Roach with a motion to adjourn,
Hang on.
right?
Say we adjourn.
Yeah. Got a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry.
You're busy tonight.
Uh-huh.
Who started that?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
A quick question with the reference to the Uptown Transportation Board.